Neither Better Trades or any of its personnel are registered broker-dealers or investment advisors. I will mention that I consider certain securities or positions to be good candidates for the types of strategies we are discussing or illustrating. Because I consider the securities or positions appropriate to the discussion or for illustration purposes does not mean that I'm telling you to trade the strategies or securities. Keep in mind that we are not providing you with recommendations or personalized advice about your trading activities. The information we are providing is not tailored to any particular individual. Any mention of a particular security is not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold that or any other security or a suggestion that it is suitable for any specific person. Keep in mind that all trading involves a risk of loss, and this will always be the situation regardless of whether we are discussing strategies that are intended to limit risk. Also, Better Trades personnel are not subject to trading restrictions. I and others at Better Trades could have a position in a security or initiate a position in a security at any time.
Hello and welcome back. We're going to go through the little guys. And need to get to the right list here, I guess. The final little guys is what we need. And this is after a day like today. It's a little bit. In fact, this is a lot of these are going to be good because I had these yesterday looking at the potentials for today. And the interesting thing is that, and this is one thing that, with my trading style is why it's only, doing it once a week, even once every other week is usually enough. There's enough candidates to really keep an eye on for several days, if not a couple weeks. I've even gone a month without looking for new candidates. It's been a long time, but usually it's a weekly thing. So the interesting thing is going to, I meant to point this out last week, but if we go to, well, first of all, we look at big guys, and there's 375 symbols. There used to be over 400. Little guys used to be about 250 symbols. Between 250 and 300, it kind of bounced in there for quite a while. Until the last 3 to 6 months, it started to increase because the market's been trending lower. A lot of stocks have been going lower. So we're right at 400 symbols now. So the number of stocks that are below 50 bucks has increased quite dramatically. And may or may not mean a lot. It may mean nothing, may mean everything. It just means there's a lot more stocks, a good 30 to 50% more stocks that are below $50. So let's take a look at them. AAL, American Airlines. And this is one of the points I was getting to is that with a day like today, if I had put this little guys out yesterday, some of these would have triggered orders today, and you'd be either stopped out or almost stopped out. So it's funny how, and this is what happened last week too, is I put an order out on, what was it, COP? It wasn't ConocoPhillips, it was something else, but it was an oil company, COM or COA or something, I don't remember what it was. And they didn't fill it. And I was cranky, and then I went, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe tomorrow it's going to go the opposite direction. And sure enough, I didn't get filled, and the next day it took off and ran the wrong direction. So I would have been losing my shirt, actually, if I would have gotten in. So you never know, and that's why I don't get upset about it anymore. If it looks like I missed something, I've seen so many situations like that where I either missed something or thought I missed something, and the next day I would have gotten crushed. Of course, you have the flip side of the coin, too, where you miss the ones where you would have made a killing. So, but that happens. It's 50-50. It's going to wash each other out as far as I'm concerned. So I don't fret over it anymore. Moving on to ABX. Here's one that, yeah, this is one of those that you could say that maybe missed it, but maybe not. Beauty is that, and this is the challenging part of this, it's already run so far that how much further is it going to go? It's $7.80 up to $10 basically. That's $2.20 on basically an $8 stock. I mean, that's let's say $2 on an $8 stock is a 25% move. So you're talking 30 to 35%, about 35% move in just a couple weeks. That's enormous. Will it continue to run up to $12.50? It might. But with the rally that's taken place, the odds are that it's going to pull back or go sideways first. But then that's the hard part is you never know. That's where fear comes in, right? And here's another one, too. This is a utility company. It did the same thing. Beautiful rising 3 today. Busted right through the entry point at 949. And raced basically halfway or about a third of the way to the target. Actually, no. 949, yeah, 25 cents. It's halfway to the target in one day. So this is one, if you grabbed it. This is the opposite of American Airlines, where you wish you would have gotten in this one, because it's run, even though it's run quite a bit, it still may have some room to go. So ATI, Allegheny, this is one that you probably wouldn't have caught today anyway. Needed it to pull back, and it did pull back. But when it was pulling back and when it hit the entry point, things were selling off so significantly that it didn't look like it was going to turn around. So kind of a moot point on that one. Anglo, this is another gold. The gold just went nuts today. You'll see GG's not on here, but that's one that was on the radar last week and has done exceptionally well. In fact, I'll just bring it up here. And well, there's what happened today, which is beautiful. See, it had already run from $9.50 up to $11.50, so $2, so about 20-25%, somewhere in there. And today it just went berserk, which is spectacular for me because I'm making paper money. But yeah, a lot of the golds have taken off, which says a lot, really, because when you think about it, why would people be fleeing to gold stocks? And why are they going? Look at the momentum. I mean, the volume has been huge on almost all these. I mean, ABX, even though we don't have final numbers on volume, but it's usually pretty close. ABX and Anglo is double. GG was double. Huge volume going into gold stocks. Why is that? Well, if people are looking at the bigger picture, if they're looking at the SPX, the stock market, and the stock market is potentially dropping, they're going to flee to safety. And gold is one of those places that is considered a safe haven. So that's the interpretation I take, is that people are fleeing to safety. Even though the market rallied today, which very well could be a short covering rally, it very well could be those coming in that think that it's going to bounce here because we've been here before and it's going to bounce again. We're getting a double bottom. Who knows? Who knows what caused today's bounce, unless there was some kind of news that I'm not aware of. So entirely possible. As you know, I don't really necessarily watch the news a whole lot. I don't pay attention to the news that much unless there's something significant going on, which maybe I missed something today. I don't know. BBBRY, Research in Motion, or BBRY, I should say, BlackBerry. Looking for a bearish move, and obviously with what happened today, it turned it around completely. So, Avis, this is an interesting one. This thing went to 70. This is what's crazy. Avis Budget. This is a rental car company, right? They rent cars. Which, granted, I mean, it's essentially a service. So it can be, a lot of service businesses have very high margins because they're providing a service. They started, I don't know when they started doing it, and I think they've probably been doing it for years, but it seems that it's come up a lot more in the last few years. I've noticed it in the last 5 to 10 years. Maybe because they're advertising. Because now it seems like they use their cars, they take their rental cars and rent them out for a while and then sell them as used vehicles. And so they're making money. They're making money on the rentals, obviously, on a monthly basis. If they're renting a car for $20 a day, if it costs them $150 a month to pay for the car, and they're making $450, they're making 3 times their money. Pretty high margin. And then if maybe they say they bought the car for 10 grand, they sell it for 5. Okay, so they lost 5 grand over 2 years, but they made $10,000 in rental fees. So they have a healthy cash flow, and then even though they basically get all their value back. So it should be a pretty healthy business, and you can see that it was. At least they were up at $70, but now they're down at 22. So I think this is kind of indicative of travel, though, too. Over the last couple of years, people have traveled less. They're not renting cars as much. It's the only thing that makes any sense of why they've gotten cut by almost 2/3. Why else would a car, Avis and Budget, if travel was tearing it up, which apparently in 2012 to 2014, people were traveling a lot. But now it looks like the numbers must be slowing down because their business is dying. Maybe not dying, but it's slowed down significantly. So either that or they were significantly overvalued. But they got a little double bottom going on. Was looking for a small move to the downside, but obviously that's not happening with the market. Calpine's utilities. Another thing, utilities have gotten very bullish. This is what we're seeing. Is utilities, there's money flowing into utilities in a big, big way. Why would they flow into utilities? Because utilities, like gold, is kind of a safe haven because they are there. You don't have your power if you don't pay your electric bill, right? And so they're considered by a lot of people to be safe havens. They go into utilities when technology and the economy stinks. So another Rising 3, that's basically a mat hold, actually, which is about as textbook as it gets, and it makes me kind of cranky that I didn't catch this one. So Cisco, this is one that would have stopped you out, which is never fun to get in the same day and get stopped out the same day, unless you hang on, which is not really fun either because you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. Yeah, you hear that in my voice? Yeah, exactly. But if it drops off, and there's the thing, we don't have a ton of volume on this thing. We've got earnings coming up on the 10th, which is what, a week from Wednesday, I think. A week from today, yeah. So we'll see what happens with Cisco. It was looking very bearish earlier in the day, and then all of a sudden it kind of turned. It still wasn't really that bullish, but it's looking a little better. DDR, a REIT. Looking, what's going on with that? Interesting, that did not get changed. Let me pull up that's not it. Risk reward calculator. That for some reason did not get changed. We're on DDR 1712. I don't know, there was a couple of these I saw that for some reason weren't the orange line. I don't know if I forgot or if somehow there's a glitch in the software. Seems to be kind of glitchy lately. Earnings a week from tomorrow on DDR, so got to be aware of that. But this is sitting right up against the resistance level, and it very easily could break out to the upside and run a little bit. This is a $17 stock looking at, 46 cents of potential. So we'd want to go fairly deep. I'll be looking at least a 70, if not an 80 delta here. Looking to pull probably, if we can pay 80 cents to $1 for the option and pull 20 or 30 cents out of it, I'd be pretty content with that. So Ford got beat up today. In fact, it was, this is another one. I don't know what the deal is. 1150. I am 99% sure that I put these in here. The entry points. There's one that hit the entry point this morning in the first hour and a half, sold off because GM came out with earnings. And GM gapped up a little bit, if I recall. They gapped up a little bit and then sold off. GM was down about $1 when I saw it. And I was watching it because I had a trade on it earlier, paper trade. And so closing out of it before and then having to watch it go the exact direction you want to, and there's a 30 or 40 or 50 cent reversal that you could have taken advantage of, but you don't know what's going to happen with earnings. Could have cost a lot more than that if it would have gone to the upside. So, but Ford's one of those that could have captured a 40 or 50 cent gain on the stock, so probably a 25-30% gain on the option. So, but woulda, shoulda, coulda, and this may present an opportunity here in the next day or two. So, GDX, this is the gold sector ETF. Surprise, surprise, right? It's up huge, up $1.05. And this is the one that, these ones I'd rather see pull back a little bit and hit the old resistance level that it broke out of. So these may not be a good trade until next week. They might just keep running. And if they do, then it's too late for this one and any other one that's already gone. But if they pull back, that would be ideal. If they pull back, that'd be perfect. Because we've got momentum going to the upside, and I want to see it slow down and pull back a little bit. Take a breather, if you will. Horizon Pharma. This is another stock that is excruciatingly volatile. It has, for a $16, $17 stock, it has $1 and $2 swings. I mean, look at today. It was up $1. It was down at $15.60, and it was $17.60. So a $2 swing intraday. This morning it was down. It gapped up a little bit, then sold off. It was down about 80 cents or $1. Which was awesome, and then an hour and a half later, it's up $1. Like, whoa, what's going on here? This thing's wild and crazy. It's coming up with earnings on Monday, so it's hard to say what's going to happen with this thing, but we will see. So looking for a downside play on that. Johnson Controls. This one, it's building a nice little base, and it has been. Earnings has played out. It hasn't sold off, hasn't continued the big drop that it was. So I'm thinking that if this thing breaks to the upside, and we've got kind of a midpoint there, almost a miniature little head and shoulders inverted, but yeah, it's a stretch for me. I know some people will say it is, but okay. Double bottom, triple bottom, whatever you want to call it. It's built a nice little base. So if it takes off to the upside, I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing rally and go $1.50, $2 to the upside. So that's what we're looking for there. CarMax, another one that little hammer pattern, gapped up this morning and started to sell off, triggered an entry point, and then rally back a little bit. So we'll see what tomorrow brings. If the volume is as light as it looks like, if that turns out the way it is, then I'm not terribly worried about this. I think the bearish move may continue, but we'll see. We'll see what we get. Macy's. This was selling off this morning. And I thought, well, it triggered an alarm. I think it was the 39.91. Went and looked at it. I went, yeah, that's not exciting. By the end of the day, boom, it had done this. But then again, you look at the volume the last week on this attempted run to the upside, very meek. So I'm not too excited about that. NVIDIA sitting right at that $28 level. Looking for it to break down. And it did a little bit today, but it never didn't finish down there. So if it breaks down and really makes a solid move, then there may be something there. We got to keep in mind earnings is coming up on the 17th as well. So Newell Rubbermaid. This is one that has caused a little frustration for me today because I looked at it, it gapped up and it hit that 37.58. And then it hit the 37.23. I looked at it, I went, yeah, and it just kept on going. And every time I looked at it, I went, I should have gotten in. Woulda, shoulda, coulda. But it is what it is. So nothing to do with it right now. It might, maybe be worth looking at getting in some. We'll see what happens tomorrow. If it breaks down again tomorrow, it may run again to 34. I'd be a little bit surprised, but it's possible. So we'll see what tomorrow brings. Paychecks. Looking for a bullish move here. It's running a little bit. We've got that big gap. We've got two different gaps, actually, two windows that are open, and looking for it to possibly close those. So if it does take off to the upside and rallies a little bit, then there may be some opportunity here, especially if the market takes off to the upside, which is entirely possible. So we'll see what happens with Paychecks. Looking at Potash. Was looking for a downside move, and obviously this didn't even give an opportunity. So no big deal on Potash. It may still materialize later, but I'd say it's probably going to be a few days. Reynolds, this is one. I was getting kind of excited about this yesterday, looking for a pullback, but it did more than just pull back. We had a flat-out huge bearish engulfing pattern with big volume. So not sure what happened there. Of course, we got earnings a week from tomorrow. But Reynolds, I was hoping would pull back a little bit because this is, looking at this pattern, that's beautiful. This thing's been in a long-term uptrend, and we're talking end of April. $5.50 up to 50. Of course, there's a split, I think, there, isn't there? There's a couple of splits in there, it looks like. Yeah, there's a split. 2 for 1. What's the 2 for 1? There was one. Where was the other one? Well, that's back here in 10. 2 for 1 split in 2010 as well, though. That's insane. So, yeah, this thing was 130. Split it 2 for 1. Ran back to 66. Split it for 2 for 1. And just did another split. $90 to $45. So, wow. Reynolds American is a tobacco company. It's kind of crazy, but you see the trend and how spectacular it's been. And a beautiful, beautiful symmetrical triangle. Breaks out in a big way a few days ago, and then today just killed it. So we'll see what happens over the next few days if it bounces back above that upper line. But definitely a huge red flag with the big bearish engulfing pattern with big volume. So Rice Energy, another one that looking for a bullish move on it. Didn't do much today, really. So kind of stagnant. So we'll see what happens with that if it takes off to the upside. Range Resources. There's a rollover from last week. It actually triggered an entry point last Friday, and it got worse from there. I did paper trade this, so. But the volume hasn't been spectacular. It's just looking for a move to the upside, so we'll see what happens with it. It may or may not materialize. And the last two, we got Swift Transportation, which the transports have not been spectacular, but the only thing that makes me nervous about this is that, 12 to 16 and a half, $17 in just a week or so. But here's the beauty, though, too. Here's the thing that is good about this is not only do we have, we have the news and the momentum, we have giant volume on that day where it rallied. So we get a little sideways action like we've had, and then another leg to the upside is not uncommon. We got the beginning of that today. So we'll see what it brings tomorrow. Hopefully it doesn't gap away from us to the upside and leave us in the dust. But it triggered the entry point today. But and last but definitely not least, Whole Foods. Looking somewhat bearish. Obviously, you can see it's been pretty wild the last year and a half, 2 years. But looking like it wants to break to the downside. Got earnings coming up here pretty soon. That is a week from tomorrow, I believe. No, a week from today. So got to keep that in mind. But also have some decent potential. About a 10% drop. So we'll see. It dipped down and, we got a little tweezer bottom type of pattern going on today. So we'll see what tomorrow brings. Not a lot of volume, but we'll see. So this may be one that we just kick out because of earnings. So, but that's it for the little guys for this week, and we'll be back actually Monday with the big guys. So hope you all have a great day. Unless I have something extra that I can throw in, or if I have a little bit extra time, then I may do some bonus stuff in there if I can think of it, or if I just feel like it. So anyway, we will see you down the road. We'll see you very soon, and y'all take care. Have a great rest of the week, and bye-bye.